year was worse than the year before, and this year was trending worse than that year, right? So there's a little bit of, it's a little bit of an uptick there, a little bit of an uptick. I know, it really depends because if you're in like South Florida and you're getting hammered, I get it, right? So I understand, but in other parts of the country, things are not as dire.
Yeah, I mean, I think, welcome Albert, welcome Faiza, or is it Faiza? I'm not sure. You can tell me in the chat, and I'll say it right. Hey, Albert, Albert, it's good to see you, brother. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. I think that we're seeing this one. I actually think we're headed in a positive direction. How long?
It's
I
it's
don't
it's
know.
hard to see. It's hard to see that. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of a lot of headlines out there,
There's a lot
about
of
the housing
headlines.
market, and a lot of really important markets, like South Florida, like Miami, like a lot of the Gulf Coast, are taking it on the chin. So they dominate the
Yeah,
headlines, right?
and I think what happens is that when you don't know real estate historical data, you hear, like, say, Nashville. Nashville's, I believe, the number one for the biggest adjustment in days on market. And so then you hear that and then you go, "Oh man, this is bad." But the thing is that
Tanking.
that's like looking at someone who's losing weight and then going, "Oh my gosh, you're losing weight and getting healthier. You're headed in a bad direction." And it's like, well, no, listen, like, we had a lot of obesity in prices. We had a lot of unrealistic, not healthy things happening. So someone cutting back and getting healthy is actually a sign in a positive direction. At least that's what I believe, right? This is all speculation, of course, no crystal ball. But I believe that that means we're headed in the right direction because we're getting healthy.
Yeah, and here's the craziest thing, Robert. So, we see all these headlines about the market. We see a lot of sentiment among agents. Oh my goodness, it's doom and gloom, and then there are agents having their best year ever at the same time, right? That
100%.
always kind of blows my mind. Like, wait, hold on, what? Didn't you hear the news? Aren't you reading the headlines? What are you doing? You should be having, the worst year of your
Don't
career.
you
Like,
know
wait,
we're supposed to be outraged right now, or we're
we're supposed
supposed to
to
be
be
broke right now? Yes.
pick up drop the for sale sign and pick up the pitchfork. Something's going wrong, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always of two minds of this. One is I like to know the national statistics. I like to know kind of where the market is in general,
Yeah.
and then at the same time, that isn't helpful, right? Because my business, my world, is usually about a 25-mile radius from one point on the map, right?
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and what's happening in that 25-mile radius can be completely different than what I'm seeing in the headlines. Completely different. If you're, because the whole country, if you look at this, we're back to pre-pandemic levels for the first time, 5 years later, right? Almost 6 years later, right? Pre-pandemic inventory levels, except if you're like in the entire Northeast, basically from Chicago all the way to New England, they're like, what are you talking about? We're 30% below pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. Oh yeah,
You got to know
you
your
guys are the
market.
exception. You got to know your market. You got to
Good
know your
morning,
market. And
Linda.
and
Good to see
and
you, by
most
the way.
markets, properly marketed, properly shown, properly priced, homes in a great location are still flying off the shelves, right? That's just that it doesn't apply to that, right? Well priced, well presented home in a desirable neighborhood is flying off the shelf
Let me
because
ask everybody a
those
question real
homes are not
quick.
overly.
Um, we're talking about just the sentiment in the market. Gus and I love to talk about numbers and and everything like that. But I want to hear from you guys in the chat. How are you feeling about your market? What's your sentiment? You could be like, I'm seeing people panic, but I'm having a great time. Like, I'm crushing it and things are going well. Or maybe you're the exact opposite, right? I see other agents who are winning in my market, but I can't catch a break. I'm working leads. I've got an agent over in Knoxville who's had a hard time. She's had a lot more leads fall out, right? But then at the same time, I've got another agent in Knoxville who is like, man, I don't know what happened, but things are just working out. They're just working out, right? So I'd love to know from you guys in the chat, how are you feeling about your market for you, your business personally? There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm sure you'll find people who share similar, whether that's happy and everything's great. but it's all over. Albert, we're all based in different areas. I'm particularly just outside of Nashville. Gus, where are you again?
So I'm in Mexico, but I consider my home market, the market I know something about, in Seattle, Washington, the Seattle suburbs. That's
Seattle.
where I
That's
work
right.
as an agent. That's kind of my knowledgeable area is that part. And if I were selling homes, with people, that's where I work. And that's the area that we all. And that area, although down from a couple years ago, market's still strong there. Well priced, well presented homes are going quickly. But yeah, like you said, Robert, days on market is higher. There's more inventory available in general. So yeah, that's definitely a different market from a couple of years ago. But I have a quick story, Robert. Give me 1 minute, and I want to let people know about this. So I had one of our clients at Power ISA had hired us, to build up a prospecting team for her. But I kind of saw, said, hey, how many deals have you closed so far this year? And she said she had closed 3 deals, and this is around the same time, September, end of August, early September. This was a couple of years ago. And she's like, I've only closed 3 deals this year. I'm like, hold on. You can't afford this. What are you talking about, right? And I asked her how many she had closed the year before. She had 15, and it was a great year for her. Like, oh, that's awesome. And what happened? No, she went from 15 to 3. And I said, and where'd those deals come from? She said her personal sphere, right? Database, people she knew, past clients. And I go, great. How many times have you called them this year? And she's like, "What do you mean?" Like, yeah, well, how many times have they come from your database? Well, how many times did you work your database that year? She goes, well, she doesn't really work her database. They would reach out to her. She posts on social, and she, is active, on Facebook, Instagram, and people would kind of just reach out to her. And now they're not reaching out. And I go, oh, I got you. So the business was so abundant, last year that people would reach out to you. Now business is less abundant. One of those people, now you got to reach out to them, right? In fact, you should
Yeah.
get in the habit of
Yeah.
that. So we put the ISA on hold. We put the prospecting on hold. And I said, you got to make a list. It can't be less than 200 people. She's an immigrant to the US, by the way. It can't be less than 200 people. And I want you to call them all and invite them to some kind of class you're going to teach about something you know a lot about. Okay. Her husband, is a veteran. So she taught a VA loan class, and she did this in 2 weeks. Like I said, you got to do it now. Like you're kind of holding on here for dear life. You don't realize it. You got to do this. And she did it 2 weeks. She had 67 people register and like almost 40 people attend that event, like a class, in-person class, by the way. And I want to remind folks, a couple years ago, interest rates weren't at 6, they were above 7%. Okay. Because that was her big blocker. Says no one's buying, Gus. No one's selling. It's 7%. Are you crazy? And I go, make the call and help whoever needs. And I said, in that class, you don't have to dwell on interest rates. People know what the interest rate is. Okay. You're going to help whoever needs to move and just teach the class, teach them what they can do. You taught about the VA loan and all the ins and outs, assumable mortgages. Hello. That was really interesting for people to hear. Within 90 days, she had $20,000 in commissions she didn't have otherwise, right? Within 90 days of that class. Okay. So it was probably less because the middle of December, she's like, yeah, man, woo, we're rolling in it. So I want to say a story because usually, Robert, the thing stopping us from being successful isn't the market. I know that's controversial. I know I'm not in South Florida. I'm not, right? But usually what's stopping us is our own mindset. Usually. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Only
yeah,
99%
I
of
have
the time.
hundreds of agents that I coach, hundreds, right? And I'll have a dozen in the exact same market, and the vast majority of them are saying I can't make it, and it's usually outside things, interest rates, or my clients aren't serious. And while all those things to an extent have a level of truth to them,
For
interest
sure.
rates are always a factor, and clients will always have shifting priorities, emotional turbulence. The reality is that most of the time, and I'm proud of you guys for being here, by the way, because that's showing you that you want to show up and you want to keep improving. But most of the time, we shut down and we say the problem's too big and it's too great, and there's no way we're going to defeat Goliath with a stone. There's just
100%.
no way, right?
And that's why, Robert, it's so important to look at numbers, right? I like numbers because numbers take a little bit of the passion out of it. Not all, a little bit of the passion out of it, and you can look at it. And, yes, we went from 5 million to 4 million homes sold in this country over the last 3 years. I get that. In fact, I take it back. We went from 6 million to 4 million. Okay. 6 million in 2021 and, 4 to 5 the last 3 years. Okay. That's that's for those keeping score. That's like a 20%, almost 30% reduction, right? But here's the thing: 4 million homes are going to be sold in this country this year. 8 million sides. About my estimate is about 20 million adults involved in those transactions. 20 million adults, give or take a few, right? 20 million adults involved in a real party to a real estate transaction this year. This year, 20 million adults. How many adults are there in the country? Let's round it out at 200 million. 1 out of every 10 adults in the US is party to a real estate transaction this year. This year, 2025, a
Mm,
down year, a down year. So, it's a good segue into today's topic, because the problem then becomes, how do you find 1 out of 10 adults? How do you have a
yeah,
conversation with them? How? And,
I
and
love that.
them, or their neighbor, or their friend, or their spouse, or their family member. How do you get in touch with them? Because if you look at the problem that way, that's not an insurmountable problem. Okay, that's not an impossible problem to solve.
And honestly,
How
it
do you
kind of leads
improve
to
it?
today.
Yeah,
Let's jump into it because I know you and I could
it's a
talk
good
forever
segue.
about this. But I'm a firm believer that you always need listings, even when listings sit. Um, it's just, in my opinion, it's just always better to have the asset than to not, because I believe that listings create opportunity. And so let me share with you guys why, even though we're seeing days on market go up, I believe that listings are more important than ever for you to have. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. It's not on the screen. Who is the most powerful buyer in most markets? The most qualified, capable buyer in most markets? Not a trick question. Just think about it. Who is the one who has the most capable? And this is on average, right? I'm not talking about some random billionaire who happens to live nearby. I'm talking about on average, who is the most qualified, capable buyer? What's their financial situation, right? Drop it in the chat for me. I want to hear from you guys. Okay, and then I'll explain this in a second, and it'll make a lot of sense. Gus, all cash buyer. Love it. Love it. That's definitely easiest number one. Arguably, probably the fewer in number. A little bit harder to find, but agreed. Robert, spot on. Most of the time, unless you're lucky and you get what Gus said, all cash buyer, unless you're lucky, sellers are absolutely still the strongest buyer. They may not be the fastest, but they're definitely the strongest. They are almost always coming out with more cash than a buyer coming in. They have more cash, they have more familiarity, and they have more of a timeline because they have a home they just sold. They got to get out of here, which means they are going to be they've got the urgency. We all like people who make decisions, right? And get to it. They've got the money. We love that, right? And they have a bunch of crap that they need to get out of there. they have to go, right? So listings, even when they sit, create the most opportunity because they also build your brand. They attract buyers better than most lead magnets ever will. Why do you think Zillow? What you think Zillow leads are coming from Facebook ads selling lists? No. Zillow leads come from people, buyers going to Zillow to look at listings. So if you have the listings, you have arguably the number one lead magnet for buyers, which is a listing. So that's why I wanted to do this call with Gus today. Is I'm seeing agents who are like, I need more buyers. And by the way, I'm always happy. Go get as many people as you want, of course. But listings are still the centerpiece to any long-term successful business in real estate. And we cannot neglect that. So that's why I brought in Gus today, so we could talk about getting some more listings. So if this calls for agents who maybe you're afraid of making that phone call. You've just heard 1,000 agents complain forever about how terrible cold calling is, right? Or maybe you're willing to make the call, you just don't know what to say. Well, I'll do it. I need the money. I've got the drive. Whatever your reason is, you're willing to do the work, but you don't know where to start. You don't know what to say. Or maybe it's that you're doing the work already, but you just want to get more for what you're doing. In other words, more listings, from your listings. I think that's always a positive to do. So that's who this call is for today is those types of people right now. Okay, because it is a level of security. I have an agent that I work with up in Canada. He has 42 listings currently live, right? That means he has 42 of the highest quality buyers that just at the flip of a switch are going to be able to beat out most other buyers who don't have their type of assets, who don't have their type of position. They're going to win and they'll have to move faster. He's also got buyers calling all the time. 42 listings. He's in a much better position than someone who only has 42 buyers. Okay? All right. So there's 4 commitments being on the call. I'm going to breeze through them. One is video on. Alfred's got it. Robert's got it. Linda's got it. Cynthia, good to see you. You got it. Got a couple other. Corey, there we go. William, good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here. Right? Let's get those videos on. Just like you can't be wearing a paper bag over your head when you're meeting with clients. Come on now. Next is distractions off. You guys are way too smart to show up here and distract yourself. That'd be a complete waste of time, right? And then, of course, participate. We're going to have some cool things for you to do. We're going to be asking questions. Remember, these questions are intentional. This is here to rewire, to make sure, to refine. But if you're checked out, you're not present, you're just going to walk away being like, oh, I didn't get anything out of that call. Okay? And then the last thing is go make someone's day. Go bless someone with what you learned today. Just really have a heart to do that. Okay? All right. So, how many times have you sold a listing but not called the neighbors? I'm not talking about prior to the listing. How many times have you sold a listing and then you said, sweet, got my commission check, I'm done, and kind of just walked away? Right? Who's guilty of that? Drop it in the chat if that's you. That's me, by the way. That was me for so long. The way I was taught was get to the closing table, and then after that, I'm done. Pretty much. I'm done. Maybe once a year I'll have the Santa pictures. If I make enough money, I'll do the Santa pictures around December, right? Maybe every now and then I'll have a random pop-up 4th of July barbecue, but that was kind of the extent. You get to the closing table, your job's done. You got paid. Get out of here. And then you restart the cycle again of grind till you get to the next closing. And I'm seeing this in the chat. Gus, you're seeing it too. This is the mindset. And be honest, I bet a lot of you haven't had people tell you to do what we're going to show you today. So I don't blame you. I was at 4, 5 brokerages, a top producer at all of them, and nobody ever told me to do this. Nobody. My broker, who made a lot of money by me making, getting listings, never told me to do this. This should be something, I'm going to throw this out there. This should be something that is part of your routine. Closing should be just one step in a multi-step process. And there should be steps after the closing table that you take to continue to capitalize on the work you did to get that listing. This also works if you don't have a listing, by the way. And that's what I love about it too. Maybe you're a little slim on listings. Maybe you just forgot, whatever. Guess what? There's how many closings? 4 million, Gus, do we say?
4 million. You
got enough to call.
Or Robert, my personal favorite, you have listings, but you want them in another neighborhood. You want them in the fast moving, you want them in the nice neighborhood. You want some in the area they're just going to fly off. There's going to be a lot of demand, but there's not enough inventory. You can call there 100% too.
That's right. So things need to change. We're going to skip some of the story time because Gus and I talked a little extra, but I do want you to say this with me. This is a mindset thing. We do it every call. So say it with me. Things need to change. And they will. And it starts with one just sold listing. Okay? Because the stats are on your side in this. What we're going to show you today, Gus, the number's actually higher. I used this from a previous call Gus and I did. The number's even higher today. I've used this since then. So I've contributed to this number. But this script and what we're going to teach you today has booked over 3,000 listing appointments. You'd be hard pressed to find anybody else that you've ever talked to who can claim that. Okay. All right. So this is proven, box checked. You don't need to worry. When done consistently, this is one of my favorite things. This is very down to earth, easy to measure. It can add one listing a month if you're brand new and, not polished. Let's put it that way, right? You're still kind of getting your feet wet. You're still kind of trying to get the finesse on the phone down, okay? This should add one listing a month easy. If you are practicing this and refining this, or you're already good on the phone, this should add 3 to 4 listings a month. Do you guys hear that? Did you hear that? I want to make sure that you heard the numbers I just said and you didn't let it kind of gloss over, okay? If you're okay kind of getting into it, this should add a listing a month. How many of you would like another 12 listings a year? Duh. Of course you would. You'd be silly to say otherwise, right? Now, how many of you would like 36 additional listings a year? What would your life look like if you had that? Seriously, picture it for a second. Right? What debt could you pay off? What opportunities could you give yourself and your family that you can't right now? I always look at things like that. Every time I'm looking at my deals, I'm seeing not just the cash, I'm seeing the opportunity of blessing my family, blessing someone who's in need, blessing my community. That's what I see every time I see an opportunity like this is I see how I can bless, right, and pursue things, okay? And this can be used on listings that other agents sell. And not all things work this way. So this is a blessing, all right? So the goal isn't to convince them to sell today. This is a big thing that we get anxious, we get so excited, and we're like, sell, 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 sell. We're going to show you today that this is about identifying interest, starting a relationship that opens the door to the future follow-up. Okay, that opens the door to the later appointment that you will get, and it will make sense. So we're going to start with step 1, and then Gus, I'm going to let you take over. So step 1 is just finding the listing. Hey, Robert, Gus, how do we get this listing? Where do we find them?
And this is the part I love, because you have many ways to do this, right? If you currently have listings, that's easy. Like, pick your favorite one, the one you like the most popular one, the one that generated the most interest, and go with that, right? But it's not the only. That's the easiest option. It's not the only option. You can use the royal we, right? Which is, okay, what a listing my team recently sold. Okay, that can be anyone on your team. How about your brokerage? And a listing anyone in your brokerage couldn't currently sold. Now we're talking about dozens, hopefully hundreds of deals, right? Over, and it doesn't have to be the last 30 days, Robert. It can be over the last few months, right? So hundreds of deals. And let's say, in my personal favorite, Robert, in case if all else fails, you can go to a neighborhood where you don't even have a listing, right? Or anyone has a listing because you're lacking inventory. But guess what those neighborhoods usually have? You have buyers looking for a property in that area, right? So there's even a version of this where, I have buyers. I don't have a listing currently, but I have 5 people in my CRM that are looking for inventory in this area, and they're just not finding enough, right? They're not finding what they need. I want to help them. So there's many ways to go about this. You should never get stuck by not finding a property or an area you find desirable and you want to call it. There's no excuse. There's many ways to find it. Drop a pin on that map, and that's where you're going to start.
I love that. I love that. And a good example is Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Okay, so city, state, duh. Three Rivers community. So that's a neighborhood, right? It's not even a zip code. It's even smaller than that. It's a neighborhood. The median 420. We'll get into a minute why this is important. And sold 8 days ago. So recent can be better, but like Gus said, especially with everything sitting on the market longer now, you have a much bigger window to use this strategy from. But Gus, why do we typically go for the median price versus super high or super low?
So there's just more of them. right? And you're going to have an easier conversation with them. I've seen this strategy work with higher price communities for sure, right? There's just less of them, right? And it's harder to get people on the phone. I like the median because there's just more, and there's more buyers for them, and there's more sellers that have them available. I mean, it's just a wider, bigger pond, a bigger pond.
So what I'm hearing is we choose the median, guys, because it has the highest chance of success. You have the most amount of buyers and the most likelihood of finding one of these because there's more of them. Okay? All right. And by the way, take notes if you want to, but we will also send you the slides and replay on Friday. So if you really want to just focus and be present, because I know me, sometimes I get so focused on notes that I literally will miss the rest of the call. And so that's why we do the recordings for you to bless you so you can just allow yourself to listen and be present, okay? All right, so let's move to step 2. And if you guys have questions, if you think we're going too fast or something didn't make sense, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them. So make your call list. So now you've got to actually have a list of people to call. You've picked the neighborhood, but Gus, how do they find the numbers and names, addresses, whatever to call?
Great question, and that's where we should rely on the technology. This is, this a lot of people kind of dwell on this and they get stuck here. This is the easy part, right? This is there's tools that do this, there's software that does this. RedX has a really good, they call it a GeoLeads product. Get RedX GeoLeads, right? It's probably the most cost-effective one out there. That's great. For dialing, the actual dials made, I really like Mojo, right? And they're like $99 a month, right, for their basic package. So I really like that. They also have data. Okay, so I'm separating the data from the dialer. You can buy the phone numbers from one company and dial with another. They make it really, really easy to do that.
Okay,
Or
so
you
a
can
little
just get
hybrid.
everything from Mojo. Yeah, a little bit of a hybrid, and even Mojo has, they call it the neighborhood search feature, right? Which is like a circle prospect, a neighborhood dialing feature, right, as well. So those two are my favorite. RedX for data is really good. Mojo for data or dialing is really, really good. And even now, they still see the best results from the Mojo dialer. There's other technology out there. This is the easiest to set up, and it's really, really well priced. And I don't know about you, Robert. I don't make any money off these guys. I don't think even Mojo does referral deals on the back end. I wish they did. I'd still promote
I
them.
don't
I
think they do,
100%.
no.
They don't have to. They're Mojo, right? Everyone knows them. But they're really, really good. They're the best in the business for a reason. I recommend them to be successful with this. You get this, you'll be calling in an hour. Like, it's that easy to set up.
Love it. Love it. Obviously, too, ISA services, guys. This is for people who have the money. I'm going to be upfront with you. What happens is, and Gus, you can share about this too. What happens that I've seen with ISAs is you've got people they'll come to a call like this and they'll go, "This is awesome, but I don't want to do the work. So therefore, I'm just going to immediately hire someone else." Now, I like that mindset because you still want to take advantage and you're maybe willing to spend the money. Here's the critical flaw that I've seen, and I've seen it in myself, guilty, is that when I don't know what I'm doing in this strategy, in this process, my accountability level, my refinement level, remember, these are just employees at the end of the day. It's your job to still teach and refine them. Even with great ISA companies that have coaches and have trainers, it's your market, it's your neighbors, it's your listings, it's your community. You're supposed to be the expert, right? Can we all agree? You're supposed to be the expert of your area. So while coaches and ISA companies can help, you need to know how you want your company reflected in these calls. You need to know how to handle the actual detailed objections. There's general objections Gus and I can help you handle all day long. Easy, no problem. But there's going to be specific ones about your market and your area and your product and your services. So you need to know the process. I didn't even say that you have to be an expert at it, but you need to know it enough to where you can keep it on track, to where you can help refine it, and then also to where you can cover. If you don't know how to do this, what if one of the sellers calls you back and well, I don't even know what to do. I've been so and guilty. Again, I'm preaching from my experience, the mistakes that I've made. is I tried to just immediately hire someone else to do work I didn't want to do with also having no clue how it worked. And that's a very dangerous thing. Could you imagine, right? Like how that really would break down for you? So,
Blind
if
leading
you
the blind, basically.
yeah, if you have the money, get in, do a little bit of this yourself and establish your baseline expectations. Then invest to scale and grow up, right? And you're going to be much happier and you're probably going to produce much better results. And then, of course, there's the old fashioned door knocking. And then, Gus, you can share your thoughts on the last two as well. But old fashioned door knocking, I don't know how you guys feel about this. This is a very personal thing. We live in a very polarized world. So knocking on someone's door for some is an awesome opportunity to make connections. I know agents in Texas who do this and love it. They swear by it. And then I know agents in Texas who hate it and said they feel uncomfortable. I know there's also differences between genders. You're going to have men who will be like, ah, not big a deal. And you're going to have women who say, I don't feel safe. So this is a very personal thing. So we're sharing this for you to just know what's available, right? But you just need to pick one and stick with it and do it. So, guys, do you have any thoughts about the ISA and door knocking you want to share?
100%. I think you nailed it, Robert. My recommendation would be not only that you do it, I think you have to clue a couple of deals from it. I think in any lead source, lead gen that you want to add leverage to, whether that's agents, ISAs, you want people into, I think you have to have gone through the cycle a few times, right?
Yeah.
Because then it works. It's a working lead gen system. It works, right? And as you add leverage, you can now tell. Because otherwise, Robert, you can't tell what's not working. If you don't know the system, you haven't gone through it yourself, and things aren't working. Is it the ISA? Is it the script? Is it the
Oh,
list? Is it
yeah.
Mojo? Is it the contact rate? Is it the I'm being tagged as spam? All these things, you don't know which ones. You try to solve all of them, and then it just takes way more time and it costs way more money than you
Yeah.
anticipate, and you're going to give up. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's the original sin of hiring ISAs without this having this figured out. So I agree with you 100% on that. I'd say you have to do this on your own and you have to close a couple of deals from it before you consider adding leverage, right? And when you're
Love it.
ready, hey, I'll be ready for you guys. We'd love to work with you. Door knocking, man, my favorite kind of lead gen. Always my favorite kind of lead gen because with lead gen plus exercise, like and I was in Seattle, guys. Like I'd be door knocking with an umbrella. You know what I mean? Like it rains 9 months out of the year in Seattle. Okay, so a little bit of drizzle there, walking around with my umbrella, knocking on doors. So knocking on doors when it went live, knocking on doors for the open house, knocking on doors when it went pending. Some of these guys, I would talk to them for the third time. By the time I was done. I usually do about 20 doors each side, sometimes more than 50, depending on the day. But they know who I was, and then for good measure, Robert, I drop 100 postcards. Like, why not? Right in that area, just sold.
I love it.
I attended listing appointments with the postcard on the refrigerator. Okay. With the postcard on the refrigerator. And we see you all the time. You guys are really working this neighborhood, this area. You really know this place really, really well. Let's have a conversation. Right. So that was always my favorite kind of listing appointment. I'd see the postcard in the fridge.
And let's
That was
put
the
it this way.
best, right?
Okay. Um, okay. So be honest with us, guys. Okay. Be honest with us, guys. How many of you either don't want to do door knocking because of awkward, uncomfortable, whatever, or you don't want to do it because you don't think it works? Either one. Drop it in the chat. Will says both. Feel that. James, I hate it. Right? I see others typing. Put them in the chat. Just don't like doing it.
I'd say that's a common one too. Like, yeah,
I
it
think
works
that's
on the
probably the
side,
most
like,
common one
holy
I've heard.
yeah.
Ruth, I hit the deck when anyone knocks on my door.
True.
I feel
True.
that.
That's real.
I carry. So just so you know, I carry. And so I grew up in the ghetto and it was I mean, I've had windows shot out. So for me, when someone knocks on the door, I have my gun. That I don't have windows on my door, and because specifically for that, like it's a safety thing, and so I don't want that stuff. So I get it, right? That's the background I had. So now here's what I want you just to think about. I don't, and Gus doesn't care whether you do door knocking or not. It will not affect our business in any way. However, the idea that you just won't do it because you don't like it, that is dangerous. And I would encourage you, even if you don't stick with it long term, just go do it to remind yourself that this is your job. And your job is filled with doing things you don't want to do. Guess what? I don't like exercising, guys. Everybody thinks I do because I do it faithfully. You know how many people I know who do door knocking that actually don't like it, but you would assume they do because they do it consistently. I don't like lead gen, guys. I don't enjoy the process of prospecting. I don't. Even when it's on my terms, I still don't want to do it. This is a job. And I think as real estate agents, we've been sold a lie from day one. Get into real estate. You'll have all the freedom and everything's on your terms. And it's going to be amazing. Build the business your way. We're a service-based industry, which means very little is actually done the way we want it to be. So don't get lost in that mindset of, I don't like it, therefore I won't do it. Because if you bring that into one area, that mindset, and then you do it, it will bleed into other areas of your business. Well, I don't like that follow-up, and therefore I don't do it. And I don't like that lead gen strategy either, and I won't do it. And I don't like doing open houses that way, so I'm going to just not do it that way. Or I don't even think open houses work anymore. And then all of a sudden you go, where's my business? Well, you pushed it all away. Yeah, you pushed it all away. So just, if you don't like to do it, that's fine. Go do it anyway. Prove to yourself you can do it, and then stop. Stop if you want to. Prove to yourself first that you can do this thing, because one, that's a tool that you'll always be able to rely on then. You'll have the data to prove that you can do this. Right? And then you'll carry that confidence into something that does work. I did cold calling. I did not like it, but I did it until it worked, and then I found something else to replace it with.
100%. 100%.
But I did not stop until I proved to myself that there's an overwhelming amount of data that proves this works. So it can't be just you and just your market. You guys understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You're not the anomaly it doesn't work for. There's just too much data. So don't let that be. Go get it done, close the deal, and then if you don't like it, go find something else. Right? All right, moving on. So follow the script. We have a script. We're going to drop it in the chat for you. It's a just sold script. But Gus, let's do just the initial role play. Just a 30-second intro on it.
Okay.
Just because I've always found, I'm sure you have too, where most people get stuck is not once the conversation's going and they're having a good time. It's breaking the ice. It's cracking open the shell. It's just getting the conversation going. And there's a lot of data that says that when you can get people past the 2-minute mark on a call, you're almost guaranteed an appointment. If you can just get them talking to you for about 2 minutes, you're going to walk away with something positive that you're going to be very happy with. So we're going to role play the first 30 seconds. We dropped the script in there if you want to read along or if you want to just listen. I'll be the seller. Gus, you can call me, and we'll just do the few first lines and stuff like that.
All right. Awesome. Great. So I'll go. I'll be the agent. You'll be the homeowner, and we'll jump into this. Right. So cool. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey there, Robert. This is Gus with ABC Realty. Before you hang up, Robert, just one quick question. I don't know if you know this, but we just sold a home down the street on 123 Main Street. I just want to ask you, we had 3 buyers left over. I mean, they couldn't get the property. I'm trying to help them out and see, do you know anyone that might be thinking of selling over the next 6 to 12 months? What do you think about that?
I don't know. Whose house sold?
Oh, it was, Bobby Miller over on 123 Main Street. I don't know if you know him, great property, beautiful neighborhood. We had a
How
lot
much
of
did it
interest
sell
in that
for?
area. It sold for about a little bit over 430,000. Pretty awesome. Great price point for the neighborhood.
Bobby got 430 for that? Okay. Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know if I got anybody.
Gotcha. And Robert, how about yourself? Have you ever considered getting something a little bit bigger, something a little bit smaller, maybe relocating at some point?
I don't know. I'm on my lunch break. I wasn't really thinking about this call today. I don't know.
Totally understand that. Tell me more. So you currently own your home or do you rent your home?
I own it. I own it.
I got you guys. So you've definitely maybe thought about, relocating somewhere, maybe making a job change, different neighborhood, city change. What do you think?
Well, I better not make a job change. I just started here a few years ago, man. I got to build this up.
I get
But I don't know. I mean, I guess we just started a remote location, so I could use an office, but and so guys, we'll cut it off there because it could go any
Yeah.
direction. But the important part is he came in and he immediately addressed the negative before you hang up, meaning I know you're going to hang up on me. That's what he's saying basically. I know you're going to hang up on me,
A little bit of a
so
pattern interrupt.
that's right.
Hey, I have another agent, Robert. I like this one too. Hey, hey, Robert. This is Gus. I'm sorry. I'm a real estate agent. Sorry about that. Like apologizing like off the bat. Some people hate that. But it's not something you expect. I'm a real estate agent. Is that okay? I just have one quick question. I'll get out of your hair. Is that okay? Is that fair? Great. Like, just again, you're not apologizing for anything really. You're just saying something they don't expect, which means they might actually listen to you, what you have to say. If you don't sound like a bot, like a robocall, or someone that can, barely speak English, like you sound like someone like a real person, and they might engage with you.
Right. Right. So that's the icebreaker. Now, how simple was it for him to just open up the conversation? Was it super complex? Was it some magic silver bullet? Did he use words that you've never heard before? He spoke the elven language in Lord of the Rings, right? And that just unlocked their brain. No, right?
It's a
All
good
he
one.
said was just the truth. Hey, we just sold Bobby's house, basically, right? Feel like King of the
Yeah,
Hill, right? Bobby. We just sold Bobby's house.
I know, right? This is Nashville, right? There's supposed to be a Bobby somewhere
That's right.
down the
And I'm just
street.
trying to I'm just trying to help people out, right? I'm just trying to help people out.
Yeah, that part is really big because you're asking them for help. You know what I mean? Like hey, I'm trying to help my buyers. Can you help me help them? Like help an agent out here, right? And then that changes the conversation a little bit, right? Again, you sound different than what they expect. You're asking them for help. People are more likely to hear you out. Give you, you mentioned, Robert, that 2 minute mark is so important. The 20-second mark is important too, because that's usually when people will hang up on you, right? They're gonna go, oh, I don't recognize the voice. They're talking some jargon I don't understand. I'm out. Thanks, but no thanks. That's the easiest thing for someone to do. Just hang up on you. But if they don't do that, right? And I love the way you did it, Robert. Because that's exactly what someone will do on the phone. Like
That's how you know I've
they're
done
not really
this.
sure. They're non-committal. They're like, you're calling them out of the blue, right? That's exactly what people will do. Like, well, I'm not really sure. But this is what I tell, my ISAs and the agents that I coach. If they haven't hung up and they haven't said no, the door is opening a little bit. Okay. If they haven't hung up on you and they haven't said no, like you did exactly that, right? You didn't hang up on me, you didn't say no. There's a conversation to be had. They're inviting you to ask them the right question. That's why I threw out a couple different questions there saying, okay, you're humming and hawing right in there. Okay. So there's something I touched the nerve somewhere about relocating. Another question you could ask. So I mean, Robert, is this your forever home? Are you going to be there like for the long term? You're not moving there until the end. And that'd be awesome. It's a great neighborhood. And usually they're going to go, well, I wouldn't say that, right? I mean, not my forever home. Okay, great. Then why? Okay, and you just approach it with a lot of curiosity, and then you want to hit, in the script. Once you have that like initial part, that icebreaker, you want to hit those points in the script. Okay, well, why? What's your motivation? What's actually driving you to think about that? What's making
Mm-hmm.
you consider it, right? And it might be the remote work one is a very common one nowadays. Families growing. Kids are leaving the house. I mean, all the D's, right? Diploma, divorce, death.
I'm even
Uh,
getting
uh, you know,
people, politically charged, people who are like, I'm blue in a red state, I'm red in a blue state.
100%.
Like
That's
that's
the thing.
you're going to see that. And here's what's crazy, right? Is I've sold to people who have the opposite political views and they felt that I was in alignment with them. Do you guys follow that? So, the reason why I tell you that is service-based industry. It's not about you. It's not about your political views. Just like you wouldn't want your plumber coming in and doing a crappy job, pun intended, because they found out that you believe this. You'd want them, no matter what,
100%.
to do their job right. You should carry that same excellence of service and a service-based mindset. But I've definitely seen quite a few actually come up in the last few months for me personally, and I don't know about anybody else here. I'd love to hear your feedback, but politically motivated moves. I don't feel comfortable here in Nashville. I don't feel comfortable here in Virginia. I'm moving to states, places, or even family who align better with what I want to see in life, with the worldview that I have. That's a very motivating thing, by the way, as a worldview. Very, very powerful motivator. So, so I'm just letting you know. I think we can all agree, without getting into the details, there has been a lot happening in the last week. People have had some very strong opinions. This is a good time for you to go and serve. This is a great time for you to go and serve to help people get where they want to go. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they fall in alignment of your political views, religious views, whatever. It's a great opportunity to provide for yourselves and your family and support them doing the same for theirs. So I just wanted to kind of remind you that we are a service-based industry,
Yeah,
right?
it should be a stopper. It should be a stopper. You're helping them, you're not going to go to a rally with them. You're helping them get their home sold, right? And move on with their life, 100%. And you want to, check all of these markers off. Like do they even have a timeline for that, right? What great. Do they know anyone in the real estate? Are you up against any competition? Because sometimes, oh yeah, my neighbor's an agent or my cousin's an agent or someone they know. That's fine, right? You still want to go in and help them because you're having that conversation with them. That shouldn't stop you, but you should be aware of that. And then you always want to make sure you get permission for the next follow-up. Those are the key points in the script, but it all starts with that curiosity, right? If the
Yes.
person's like humming and
We'll
hawing,
get you in a
they're not
second,
really
James.
sure, you want to show genuine curiosity. And why are they taking so long to respond to that
Yeah,
question?
genuine. Seriously,
So
guys, actually care about
100%.
the person on the other side. Like, I can't stress that. Gus can't stress that enough. Just be an authentic, genuine human being. And let me tell you, it's also a relief for yourself when you can take off the sales and desperation of making money hat and just be. I have listened to people who have horrible, to me, horrible worldviews. And instead of arguing with them, all right, let's just say it's Gus. I go, Gus, what made you feel that way? Right? I'm not talking about real estate. I'm talking about just being a genuine person. Instead of saying, Gus, you're wrong. All of what we do, all of our scripts are all centered around getting to the root, the motivation, right? And so, like, just be genuine with someone. Don't just be listening so that you know the next question to ask. Because sometimes there'll be a better question you could have asked if you're actually listening to the flow of the conversation. James, we'll get you in a second. I want to go over these quick mistakes, guys. And then also there's something in the chat I saw I want to share with you too. So common mistakes. Mistake number one is thinking it will take too much time to make the calls. I hear this, and maybe it's the people who brag about cold calling, and I brag in a good way, by the way. Brag about cold calling on social media. I spent the last 12 hours dialing. I made 500,000 calls, right? And maybe that stems and you see that and you go, oh my gosh, there's no way I could ever do that. Here's the math, right? This is Gus and I's math that we've proven this time and time again in our own respective markets with different agents and people. It's 2 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 to 20 hours a week, or 40 to 8 hours a month. So it's a part-time job, basically. It's a part-time job. And that part-time job, if you do it poorly, should make you more than most full-time jobs. And on top of that, if you do it well, it'll make you 3 to 4 times as much because the math checks out like this. If the average commission is $8,000 and you spent 20 hours to a week or maybe 40 to 8 hours a month, you're getting paid $100 to $200 an hour to do this. Now, most of you, here's what's crazy, is most of you would go do almost any job if it paid you $100 to $200 an hour. Can we all agree that that's true? I'm not talking about crazy jobs. I'm not talking about scaling Mount Everest, or I'm talking about most jobs. If someone was like, well, you gotta just cut paper endlessly all day, but you get paid $100 to $200 an hour to do that, you guys are lining up to cut paper so fast. Don't even deny it. You be there right away. Well, guess what? You get to do this from the comfort of your home, in your cushiony chairs, right? In your air-conditioned homes. You get to make $100 to $200 an hour with this strategy. That is a good life. And remember, this is a job. It's supposed to take hours, not minutes. It's supposed to. It's your job. And you get way more money for it. Okay, mistake number 2, jumping straight to are you selling, right? Notice how Gus asked some questions. He was sharing information about the neighborhood, right? He was really trying to get into it with me as quickly as he can to kind of crack the shell. He didn't just go, are you selling? And let me tell you, there are a lot of people who cold call and they have that very pushy tactic. It is a common thing. Investors are notorious for it. Investors are the most notorious. They kind of have this mindset that their time is worth more than everybody else's. Not all investors, but a lot of them. And so they kind of just push through it, okay? And then the last mistake that we see, this is one of the most common ones, is basically, it can be summarized into giving up too soon, right? $300 dials, 13% pickup rate, 117 conversations, 3 appointments set, 2 new listings. Okay? It's 300 dials, not conversations, okay? 117 conversations. It's your job to generate leads. It's your job to talk to people. You're not going to be able to get around that. Even when you buy Zillow leads, guess what? You still got to talk to them. Right? Okay? You're going to set 3 appointments. You're going to show up to those appointments. You're going to do a good job, and you're going to close 2 of them. And then your family's going to be well provided for. You're going to feel amazing about yourself, and you're helping these 2 new listings out in a wonderful way. Not to mention, you follow up with those previous 117 conversations. You're going to get a heck of a lot of deals, future business from those too. All right, now that we said that, James, let's get that question from you. We're going to jump into questions. We do have a newsletter. We'll drop it in the chat. We'll send replays and slides. James, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and then you can ask your question.
No,
And
I
then
just want
Cynthia,
to comment
I'm going to
that.
go to you in a second.
Just
Okay,
want
go
to
ahead,
make comment,
James.
Robert. Thank you for bringing that up. I had, I was doing, calling my leads yesterday, and it was like 10, 12, between 10 and 12 home sellers. And they all were saying something similar, that I need to relocate closer to family. Can't go into too many details, but I was asking, what's your time frame you want to sell, blah blah. And it was like, I'm like, is this like deja vu? It was one, because I live in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was getting these almost same answers, and it didn't dawn on me until you just said what you said about people's views, whatever they
Yep.
may be. I still offer my services, and I have these listings set up. But thank you for sharing that, because that gave me the aha moment. I never even consider that
This is how
people,
you know I'm the real deal. I know
yeah,
this because I experience it. I have clients that I'm actually going to follow up with today who said, we don't think that the political views of our area, we don't think we're welcome here. And guess what? I have my own thoughts and opinions and everything. I totally disagree. I love them. I know many people here are happy to have them here, but they do not feel that where they are aligns with their outlook of the world, what they want to be. And they said, we want to go to Virginia. That's where we want to be. Okay. My job isn't to convince you to do one thing or another. My job is to help you make the best decision you possibly can and help that execute, right? Help that come to fruition. So, yeah, like when we're listening, now listen, had I argued with them or even tried to convince them otherwise versus just saying, well, listen, I'm here to support you. I'm glad that we've had this relationship. Gus, I'm so glad that we've had this relationship. It really sucks that you feel the way you feel, but I'm really honored that you shared that with me so that I can be here for you. I was real with them. Even though I disagreed with them, I had sympathy for their situation. And now I get to serve them and help them. And to be honest, we should all have that mindset. So, James, go take good care of those people. Share those stories with us. One thing in the chat I saw, Cynthia said, I've had people yell at me. Listen, people will always yell at you. My kids yell at me. Do I kick them out? They've yelled at me. No. You know what you do? Your spouse yells at you. You know what you do? You work through it. You seek the best possible outcome of the relationship. Now, obviously, those are family, and so you're like, well, Robert, of course. But listen, you door knock. I'm going to go back to my days of door knocking, okay? I don't do it anymore, but I did. And so, knock, knock. Guy comes in, opens the door, very disheveled, clearly upset. What? That's how I was greeted at the door. And I'm super nice, and I'm really cheery, okay? Like, I'm not a mean person to see, okay? What? Hey, so I'm just doing an open house over here and I just want to do. You woke me up. I work graveyard. Now, my brain told me sell, sell, sell. You got to follow the script. You got to go get them to the open house, finish it. And you know what I said? I said, I'm sorry. I changed my posture. I changed my attitude. I put myself in his shoes and I said, I never meant to wake you up. I'm just trying to do a really good job for the people that are trusting me to sell their home. I just want to be a really good agent who works really hard to serve others. But I never want what I do to be a burden on you. So I'm really sorry. And honestly, just correct me. What would have been better? Should I just drop something in your mailbox to never risk that? Should I have maybe looked up your number and given you a cold call? I mean, I know you care about your neighborhood. Am I right? He goes, yeah, of course. And I'm just trying to talk to people who care about their neighborhood. That's all. I'm just trying to talk to people who care about their neighborhood. And I can tell you do, because you opened the door. You know what that tells me? You care. You knew I wasn't UPS or FedEx. Amazon really wasn't a big thing delivering at this time, just to be clear. They were not on your doorstep every day. That's a relatively new thing. And so I said, I know you're not UPS or FedEx, so you might have thought I was a neighbor. And you wanted to answer. So how can I respect you? How can I make your day a little bit better? And he was like, next time, just drop it in the mailbox. And then he left. I said, thank you so much for telling me that. I'm gonna be very respectful for that. I'll make sure that anything that I send you goes right into that mailbox, so I never risk waking you up. By the way, what do you do? Oh, I'm a utility worker. He did something at night, something with the roads. Man, thanks so much for taking care of the roads for us. Thank you for just being like, I wouldn't be here then. I'd probably be driving over potholes or whatever you do. Thank you. Right. So you guys see what I did there? But you noticed how the conversation, I didn't let it die. I didn't let it die. I kept talking to him. And then I still also figured out, how do I get this relationship still to work to some degree on his terms, in a way he feels good about. So I just want to throw that out there. People will yell at you. People will be disappointed. People will be annoyed. Your job is just to produce the best outcome. And if someone tells you to F off, you go, well, it seems like you're having a really bad day. I don't want to make your day worse. Is there anything I can do? Or is just walking away the best thing? And if they say, just walk away, you go, no problem. Thank you so much. Thanks for telling me. I'm going to respect you. I'll see you later. And I hope your day gets infinitely better. Okay. I just wanted to address that. I saw that. And I feel like we have that.
You know,
Go ahead.
Robert, I want to add one thing to that, and because that can happen, even if you're calling, Zillow leads, just to be very honest with you guys, right? You get someone at the wrong time in the wrong moment. even if they request you call them. So I want to be really clear with that. Even if they're coming to you asking for information, give me a call, reach out to me. You can call in the wrong moment and they can have a really bad reaction, right? So I think for us, it's a choice. If you only want to talk to people that already know, like, and trust you, that you can choose that. If you want to choose growth, right? It's like going to the gym. You want to hit those weights. It's going to be a little bit of pain there, right? It's not going to be always easy. Easy is to stay at home on the couch. That's easy, right? If you want to grow, there's going to be a little bit of pain, right? But Robert, this is the craziest thing. Yes, you're going to have people that can yell at you 100%, even door knocking to your face. It can happen, right? The overwhelming majority of people are just decent and nice.
It's crazy.
And this might be the bias of calling, I don't know, in Seattle, right? Maybe people are really nice in Seattle. I don't know. I called all kinds of neighborhoods though, right? So I think that the bias works itself out if I called a really nice group of people. I don't think so. The overwhelming majority of people are going to be
Hmm.
decent and they're going to do their best to at least be polite, right? The overwhelming majority, like 95, 98% of people. If you can handle that 1% that are mean people, I think the reward is going to change your life. Can you withstand a 1% hit rate on some really mean people across your life?
Yeah.
When I think about it that way, that's an easy one for me, right? Like, and welcome to service-based businesses. Robert, do you ever work in service or not? Because I work, when I was in college, I was an RA, right? So I was a service-based. Let me tell you, the hit rate was higher than 1% on mean
Oh
people.
yeah.
Let me just say that. If
I
anyone
worked at
here's ever
Cracker
been in
Barrel.
service, well, there you go. I got, in the restaurant industry, hospitality industry, the hit rate is higher than 1%, guys. It's higher than 1%. So I'm like, yeah, it can be hard, but holy cow, some of the service-based pros have to deal with way more than that. And they do it with a smile and they do it in an amazing way, right? So I do want to give people perspective on that.
Yeah.
Perspective on that.
All right, guys. We are 2 minutes after. I hope you found value today. I hope you're going to go make some calls, make someone's day, maybe even knock on a few doors. Um, I'm really glad you were here. I can't wait to see you next week. Friday, we dropped the link to subscribe to the newsletter in the chat. Friday, we'll send out replay slides and all that to bless you and encourage you as you continue to serve others in your industry. Okay. So have a good day and let's go crush it, guys. Bye. Thanks, Gus.
Bye. Bye. Thanks, everybody.